Hey, what's going on, guys? The Horror Man back with the next review of the Terror in the Aisles challenge. This time, Jason and I watched Midnight Express. Catch the Midnight Express. Midnight Express is a 1978 film directed by Alan Parker, and scenes from it are featured in Terror in the Aisles. I'll get back to that in just a bit, but first I want to tell you a little about the movie. Midnight Express is based on the true story of William Hayes. American college student Billy Hayes and his girlfriend Susan have been vacationing in Turkey. On the way home, Billy attempts to smuggle drugs. He is caught while boarding his international flight from Istanbul airport. Susan is able to get on the plane, but Billy is taken by the Turkish authorities. Billy has a clean record and has never smuggled before, so he is offered a deal. Cooperate and identify the man who sold him the drugs in the first place, and he can go free. And so Billy cooperates, identifies the man, and tries to run free. He thought he saw an opportunity and took it, so he tries to evade the authorities. Unfortunately, Billy is recaptured. Now, this part is definitely up for debate, and Jason and I discussed it. What if Billy never ran? Would the authorities have held up their part of the deal? It's hard to say, and we'll never know for sure. Regardless, Billy is arrested again, and eventually sentenced to 4 years in a Turkish prison. The prosecutor was pushing for smuggling, but the judge only gave him possession. The Turkish prison environment is less than ideal. In fact, it's truly horrifying. The prison guard is sadistic and loves physically and emotionally torturing the prisoners. Brutality, rape, and stabbings are daily occurrences. Billy has no choice but to do his best and survive. He's got 4 years, and then he'll be free. Billy befriends fellow prisoner Jimmy Booth, played by Randy Quaid. He was sentenced for stealing 2 candles. He also becomes close with another American prisoner named Max, played by the late John Hurt. Throughout the course of Billy's sentence, Jimmy is constantly looking for ways to escape. The prisoners call it catching the Midnight Express. Billy prefers not to take part, however. He just wants to do everything right. And then, on the day when he has just 53 days left to serve, Billy receives a message. The prosecutor has won his appeal, and the higher court has taken over the case. The judge who originally sentenced Billy, who genuinely likes him and felt bad for him, has no choice but to follow orders from the higher court. The Turkish government wishes to make an example out of him and send a message to the U.S. So Billy is sentenced to no less than 30 years. Now, Billy finds himself trapped in this Turkish nightmare for at least the next 3 decades. The effect it soon has on him is terrifying, yet expected. If only he can find a way to catch the Midnight Express. There is so much more I could say about this phenomenal film, but I don't want to spoil everything. What an incredible movie this is. I had forgotten how good it is. Midnight Express was actually nominated for the Best Picture Oscar, but it lost to The Deer Hunter that year. It did, however, win the Oscars for Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Score. That score is hauntingly beautiful, and it has been stuck in my head since the movie ended. It's so effective and atmospheric. Now, going back to the fact that this movie was featured in Terror in the Aisles, a lot of people have a problem with that. I notice on message boards and whatnot, this is the movie that people seem to complain about most. Not because they don't like the film, most rave about the film, but they feel it just sort of didn't fit in Terror in the Aisles. I absolutely disagree. Jason and I originally said this about Play Misty for me, but I now think Midnight Express is the scariest movie in this challenge. I think people get too wrapped up in defining horror. If something doesn't meet their definition of traditional horror, they sort of write it off as another genre. But if Midnight Express isn't horror, then what exactly is it? Many of you are going to say it's a prison movie. And yes, of course it is. But why can't a prison movie also be a horror film? Why do prison films get their own genre? There are hundreds, maybe thousands of films set at summer camps. Is there a summer camp genre? My point is, if someone says Midnight Express doesn't qualify as horror, then they probably haven't even seen the movie. This film is terrifying to its core. It's a hard one to watch, and by no means a feel-good film. But it's raw, and it's real, and it's horror. The scene of Billy attempting to smuggle the drugs at the Istanbul airport is so intense. It's shown in Terror in the Aisles, in fact, and it just gives me so much anxiety watching it. This whole movie is stressful, but in a good way. You find yourself feeling so involved in it all. And then you remind yourself, this was a true story. This actually happened. You almost shudder at the thought of that. The late Brad Davis was so good as Billy Hayes. It's a shame what happened to him. I won't get into that, but you can do your own research. Maybe Jason will mention it in his review anyway. Randy Quaid is really good as Jimmy Booth, and the late John Hurt was fantastic as Max. There's both male and female nudity in Midnight Express, for those interested in that, all of which are of the disturbing nature. It's all so unsettling. My heart is pounding just talking about the film. You go through a wealth of emotions watching Midnight Express. This is what I call a cinematic experience. You don't just watch the movie, you feel the movie. It's the Midnight Express experience, if you will. I'd also call it a masterpiece. This is one of those films I could talk about for hours, but I won't. I'll leave it at that. This movie just blew me away this time around, and I'm bound to think about this one for a very long time. This here is my VHS copy of Midnight Express, and this cover art is very misleading in my opinion. It just doesn't depict the extreme brutality of the film. It's physical horror, psychological horror, emotional horror, but this cover does not portray that. I really do love this tape though, regardless. If you've never seen Midnight Express, do not hesitate any longer. Seriously, this is a movie everyone should see. And my relatable recommendation is Broke Down Palace. I could have recommended The Shawshank Redemption. I considered it, but nope, I'm going with this. Broke Down Palace is a 1999 film, and this one involves two young American women arrested in Thailand for smuggling. This movie, like Midnight Express, is bound to stay with you long after watching it. It's disturbing and genuinely scary. It stars Claire Danes and a young Kate Beckinsale, and I do believe Jason will be recommending this one as well, so maybe he'll say a little more. Check out Broke Down Palace if you haven't. But more importantly, check out Midnight Express. Have you seen it? If so, what do you think of it? Comment below and let me know. And please be sure to check out Jason's review. Catch the Midnight Express to our next review for the Terror in the Aisles Challenge, coming soon. Until then, thanks for watching, guys. Hit that thumbs up and be kind, subscribe.